I have some breaking news coming out of Washington, D.C. with President Trump, Dr. J. Battachary, Dr. Markay and RFK Jr. Let me tell you, what Trump just did for you puts a major target on his back, and he did it anyway. What Trump just did is something that Democrats have wanted to do for years. In fact, they've tricked people into voting for them for decades, saying, we will get this done. And it took Donald J. Trump and a giant set of cojones to actually do it. This is massive. So let me just go ahead and tell you what was announced last night by President Trump on Truth Social. And then I'm going to tell you about Pfizer being caught with their own data poisoning the American people. I'm not against big pharma, but I am against killing us, and I am against ripping us off. And President Trump is putting an end to both of those. This is what President Trump said last night. Now, I don't know if this is the biggest announcement of his presidency or if something bigger is happening, because he did just announce a major trade deal with China. The stock market is reacting super positive to it. But then last night, this is what he had to say. For many years, the world has wondered why prescription drugs and pharmaceuticals in the United States of America were so much higher in price than they were in any other nation, sometimes being 5 to 10 times more expensive than the same drug manufactured in the exact same laboratory or plant by the same company. It was always difficult to explain and very embarrassing because, in fact, there was no correct or rightful answer. The pharmaceutical drug companies would say for years that it was research and development costs, and that all of these costs were and would be for no reason whatsoever borne by the suckers of America alone. Campaign contributions can do wonders, but not with me and not with the Republican Party. We are going to do the right thing. Something that the Democrats have fought for many years. Therefore, I am pleased to announce that tomorrow morning in the White House at 9 a.m., I will be signing one of the most consequential executive orders in our country's history. Prescription drugs and pharmaceutical prices will be reduced by 30 to 80%. Now, this is where it gets interesting. They will rise throughout the world in order to equalize and, for the first time in many years, bring fairness to America. I will be instituting a most favored nations policy whereby the United States will pay the same price as the nation that pays the lowest price anywhere in the world. Our country will finally be treated fairly, and our citizens' health care costs will be reduced by numbers never even thought of before. Additionally, on top of everything else, the United States will save trillions of dollars. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. Yes, yes. That's why I'm wearing my dark MAGA hat. President Trump is a gangster. He basically just told Big Pharma, I am on to you. You have ripped off the American people for the last time. We are no longer your suckers and your guinea pigs. You will give us the price that if there's a favored nation by America and they're paying $100 and we're paying $1,000, Americans are now paying $100. You guys, this is huge. This puts a massive target on President Trump's back, but he doesn't care. He just wants to do the right thing for the American people. This is massive. This is absolutely massive, and I wanted to bring this to your attention. Now, I'm going to switch over to White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavit so that she can explain this. Let's go ahead and react to this together because this is just huge.
It says, it's a long one, but he says, I'm pleased to announce that today, the White House at 9 o'clock will be signing one of the most consequential executive orders ever. They will be reducing pharmaceuticals by about 80%. Essentially, we are going to pay less than the country that's paying the least for pharmaceuticals from here on in. How does that work?
First of all, it cannot be overstated how big of a deal this executive order that President Trump will be signing in a couple of hours is for American families, and especially our seniors who have been ripped off by very large and rich pharmaceutical companies. The United States of America is less than 5% of the world's population, yet we purchase 75% of Big Pharma's profits. We pay an astronomical amount in comparison to other countries around the world. So the president is signing an executive order today that is going to implement most favored nations drug pricing, and is going to reduce the cost of drugs in this country by more than half at least. America is going to pay a better rate and a fairer rate to the rest of the world. That's what the American people deserve. This is huge news. And also, I will add, we know that healthcare costs and drug prices were the #1 driver of Biden inflation. So not only are we bringing those down, but we are ending Biden inflation once and for all.
All right. Now, isn't that amazing? I love it. President Trump, this is so amazing, you guys. I'm such a believer in modern medicine. I believe 100% that I am alive because of modern medicine. At the same time, we're 5 or 6% of the world's population, yet we take 75% of the drugs. We got to get moving more. We've got to get our food less addictive, less poisonous. That's why I'm trusting RFK Jr. is going to continue to roll things out with big pharma, big chemical, and big food to make America better. Now, Dr. Martin Markay, who works with Dr. Battachary and RFK Jr., said, for decades as a doctor, he watched families financially bankrupt themselves to buy medicine while big pharma ripped off the American people. Yikes. He said, what Trump has done is life-changing for medicine and for the American family. Dr. Battachary said, this is a huge day in American history. Now, think about this. Democrats have run for decades on, we'll allow you to abort your babies. We're going to raise wages, bring jobs back, and we're going to reduce the cost of your pharmaceuticals. They've done none of that. None of that. President Trump is the one that is getting this done. He is raising wages. He is bringing jobs back to the U.S. shores. He is bringing down the price of drugs. And they, because of Trump, cannot make good on your ability to abort a baby because he pushed it back to the states instead of the federal level. So Trump, he's not only doing what Republicans want, but he's doing the things that Democrats have been promising for decades. I'm telling you, I hope he absolutely destroys the Democrat Party. Cut off the money, cut off the cheating, cut off the people, and then keep their promises that they've been lying to their voters for decades. This is absolutely, absolutely huge. All right, now, while I said I am a big believer in big pharma, I try to take as little medicine as possible. What I do try to do instead is give my body what it needs in order to do well. Let me tell you about our sponsor. If you give your body what it needs, the immune system can take care of you. That's how God and nature designed our bodies. And I want to tell you about a way to raise your happiness levels, your immunity, your bloating, your waistline. All of these things improve when you take kimchi. This is Kimchi One by Brightcore. They've been a sponsor of the channel for many, many months. I take this. My family takes this. My 11-year-old who had bowel issues, we're able to clear these up with kimchi. Now, there's good bacteria and bad bacteria in your gut. You have to flourish, nurture, give life to the good bacteria. In each capsule of kimchi is 900 strains of the good bacteria. You got to check them out. They're absolutely amazing. Now, if you go to mybrightcore.com/kimchi or snap the QR code, you're going to get 25% off. But you guys are smarter than that. Call them right now, 888-908-4425. Get up to 50% off plus free shipping. Do your gut a favor. Do your health and your happiness a favor. And do your wallet a favor. Call them at 4425 for up to 50% off plus free shipping. All right, you guys, check them out. They're so awesome. All right, listen, you guys know, in addition to being a billionaire, a real estate magnate, a genius at beating the legal system, a marketing master, a golf master, President Trump is also a comedian. He's going to tell a funny story, so stick with me, but he brings it to a point at the very end. He's not just mocking an overweight friend. And obviously, this is a good friend that he felt very comfortable making a few little jokes. Let's go ahead and roll this together.
I mean, I'll tell you a story. A friend of mine who's a businessman, very, very, very top guy. Most of you would have heard of him. A highly neurotic, brilliant businessman, seriously overweight, and he takes the fat shot drug. And he called me up and he said, President, he calls me, he used to call me Donald, now he calls me President, so that's nice respect. But he's a rough guy, smart guy, very successful, very rich. I wouldn't even know how we would know this, but because he's got comments. President, could I ask you a question? What? I'm in London, and I just paid for this damn fat drug I take. I said, it's not working. He said, I just paid $88. And in New York, I pay $1,300. What the hell is going on?
Gosh, Trump. Oh my gosh. So $1,300 for the weight loss shot, and he's getting it in England for $88. Now, if you've been following me for a while, I've put out many videos for you guys of a pharmacist who talks about how Medicare and Medicaid are being ripped off by hundreds of billions of dollars by big pharma and the insurance companies, who I believe work in concert to bankrupt the American people and squeeze every last dime out of us. But I've shown you how there are $2,500 drugs through Medicare and Medicaid that are $79. I've shown you how there are $900 drugs that are $200 if you pay cash. I've shown you $200 medications that if you don't have insurance and you pay with green dollar bills, it's only $12. So we have been absolutely ripped off by big pharma, and I think their stocks are going to drop. But you know what? They'll recover. We need medicine. We need medicine. We need surgery. What we don't need is stuff that kills us, and we don't need stuff that rips us off. And speaking of that, listen to this from Dr. Naomi Wolf and Del Bigtree about the data that Big Pharma tried to hide from you and me, and it ended up hurting a lot of people. Listen to this.
Pfizer knew within 3 months that 1,225 people died. That's how many deaths there are in just 3 months of rollout.
1,225 within 3 months.
Correct. Pfizer knew by April of 2021 that minors' hearts were being damaged by the injection. They had warnings from the Israeli Health Ministry and also from a pediatric group. And rather than coming forward and telling all of us this is going to damage the hearts of minors, our lawyers FOIA'd email chains that go up to Dr. Fauci, Dr. Walensky, POTUS, and 15 White House
In
officials.
the email, you see it going all. So the president can't say.
The template goes to POTUS.
Right. Okay.
It's a little deniability there, but the template goes to POTUS. But certainly there are 15 White House staffers on the email chain, right?
Being told, hello, we have a problem here.
Worse, they were told that, but then there was this freak out, and I recognize it from having been an advisor to a presidential campaign, a freak out conference where they're planning how to lie to the American people, and they're creating a script. The script is 17 pages, completely redacted. But you remember what happened in April and May of 2021. They came forward and said, pericarditis, myocarditis in young men and teenagers, it's transient, it's mild, it's rare. That they knew that they were lying. And
that's what they came out with. That was their approach. Like, we'll kind of admit it, but we'll just say it's really nothing to worry about.
And then they followed that with an all summer long propaganda campaign using influencers and TikTok personalities to get young people and teenagers to get injected.
Oh, this makes my blood boil. I have teenagers. I did not give them the shot. I knew that Big Pharma was lying to us. I saw this data. I wasn't allowed to talk about it on YouTube. Made me so angry, the data that was coming out about people dying, having heart issues, lung issues, suddenly getting diabetes out of nowhere, like aggressive levels of diabetes. So not only does Trump need to hold Big Pharma to not ripping us off financially, but some of these criminals need to go to jail. Now, she mentioned there that all of this information was being shared with President Biden. Yeah, Biden might have a pass because it's not his expertise, but there were medical people that 100% knew that these shots were hurting us, and they continue to not only force them, but to try to mandate them. You will lose your job. You will lose your privileges. You won't be able to buy groceries or get your Social Security check. This is like crazy. I don't want to use the word Nazi, but like North Korea. You would expect this crap in a communist dictatorship country like North Korea, not America. This is so messed up. And what they said right there at the end, they were paying these young influencers a lot of money to push out propaganda. Now, I don't believe most of them knew, but I knew. I've got the email. They offered me $30,000 for 1 minute to tell people, go get this shot. It will save your life. It'll keep you from killing your grandma and your children and your grandchildren. I said, heck no. I would never lie to my community. I would never take money to lie to my community. We live in a sick world, you guys. We got to use our own heads, do our own research. Do not trust the mainstream media. Heck, don't even trust what I'm saying. Do your own research. Like, I could bring you the best research stuff with good intentions and still be wrong, right? I'll fully admit that. I'm humble enough to admit that, right? But these guys, they knew. Like, they 100% knew that they were poisoning people. All right, let me know in the comments, what do you think? President Trump, this dude has a spine of steel. He loves the American people. He doesn't want people getting ripped off. He is absolutely sticking it to Big Pharma. But now we got to go after Fauci and the other criminals like Burla at Pfizer and others that knew they were poisoning the American people and our children. They've got to be held accountable. Thanks for watching. Stay amazing. I'll see you on the next video.